Where does our beef supply come from? A large majority of the beef supply comes from beef cattle, but there is also a significant percentage that come from dairy steers and dairy cattle. Male dairy calves, or steers as they are known after castration, are an important piece of the beef supply in the world. According to Dairy Business News, dairy steers have accounted for 10 to 14% of the beef supply in the U.S. since 2002. Dairy calves are born at a weight ranging from 65 to 100 pounds. Holstein calves, which are the most popular breed of dairy cattle and are distinguishable by their black and white or red and white spots, have an average birth weight of 90 pounds. Once the calves are born, they are fed milk replacer formula for around 6 weeks and have a starter grain added to their diet a few days after birth and will be eating around 2 pounds per day at weaning. Calves are usually housed in individual pens or hutches after they are born up until weaning. Different farms have different housing depending on their location, but it is recommended to have calves in individual pens for a short time after birth to make sure they are consuming enough milk and feed. After weaning, calves are fed solely water and a grain mix for around a month. Cows have a 4-compartment stomach, each with their own specialty, and up until around 3 months of age, one of those compartments, which is responsible for digesting forages like hay, is still developing. Therefore, it is best for farmers to only feed the calf grain, so it will not damage the growth of the stomach compartment. Calves are usually housed in group pens during this time as they learn to socialize and interact with other calves. It is also common for dairy farmers to keep their dairy steers and heifers together through this time and up until around 300 pounds. Dairy steers will remain in group housing from now on. From around 3 months of age to 500 pounds or around 6 months, dairy steers are given free choice of water and are fed alfalfa hay and a grain mix. Dairy steers are putting on around a pound of weight per day at this point, so it is very important to have good food and water in front of them at all times. At around 500 pounds, dairy steers that are not grass-fed are switched to a more corn-based diet to finish feeding them out. They are fed a mixture of high-moisture corn and other feeds that offer fiber, starch, and other important nutrients that build muscle. Market weight for a Holstein dairy steer is around 1,400 pounds, and they will provide around 600 pounds of meat per animal. Dairy steers are humanely harvested at market weight or around 16 months of age. A surprising aspect of a dairy steer's life is that many steers are not raised on the same place their entire life. Many dairy farmers sell their dairy steers at some point to free up more space, labor, and resources to focus on their replacement heifers. Dairy farmers commonly sell male calves around 2 weeks of age or at the 500-pound mark. These 2 stages of a dairy steer's life are around the time that there is a fairly large shift in the animal's diet. Dairy farmers will work with other farmers who raise dairy or beef steers to sell their dairy steers at whatever age the steers no longer work for their farm. The steer farmers will then raise the steers the rest of the way to market weight. Here is more information from Art Keekley, a dairy farmer who raises dairy steers to finish weight.
We choose to raise our own dairy steers because it's a second source of income, and we have surplus grains. Many years the grain market is low and you're better off feeding out your livestock.
As mentioned earlier, dairy steers have a large impact on the beef supply in the U.S. In 2018, the dairy industry supplied around 21% of the total beef supply, and just over half of that was from dairy steers. Between 2002 and 2018, dairy steers have contributed almost half of the total beef graded prime in the country. Prime is the best of the quality grades that can be assigned to a beef carcass. Dairy steers are an important part of both the dairy and beef industries as they supply income for both types of farms. Dairy steers also play a critical role in feeding the world as they supply such a large percentage of the beef supply.